What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Exos Heroes video. And today, I have something special for you guys. I have been racking my brain for quite a while on how to beat this new meta. And what's this new meta? Well, honestly, it's Shufraken with FC Iris, with FC Annie, with FC Rara, and Bathory. Let's talk about how to beat this new meta. Okay guys, so if you're like me, you're a big avid fan of the PvP in Exos Heroes, you probably noticed the shift in meta with the release of FC Iris, basically leveling up a few characters and downgrading some of the characters that we had previously in the meta. For example, the Dragonblood team isn't exactly the greatest anymore, seeing that FC Iris basically destroys their barriers and basically drops a defense down on the entire team, which can be, you know, a big liability for your team, obviously. But there's still a Dragonblood character that's kind of okay, and that's FC Rara. The other character that got a big level up is Shufraken because of the fear of the abyss. And basically what happens is basically once the FC Rara does her skill 2, basically that fear of abyss will kick in, since most of the characters are actually have a lower defense than Shufraken unless you bring in a lot of tanks. So once their HP drops to a certain amount, this will trigger and basically kill all your characters because there's no more barriers to protect them from because of FC Iris. So it's actually a very nice combination to basically change the meta. And honestly speaking, I am quite lucky that my string of creation is actually I'm on the Shufraken string for a while now. I've been trying to grab him, and yesterday I did a few pulls, but it just never happened. So I've been losing quite a bit in PvP. My success rate was about 60%, and that's a lot lower than what I usually am. I'm usually in the 80% mark. I even used up all the saved PvP tickets that I've had for 2 weeks just to climb up. And I was getting frustrated, and you probably have been too, because if you don't have any of these characters, well, tough luck. It's going to be hard to actually get up there. And we're still early in the shift in the meta, so even what I'm telling you guys right now can change, and there's probably a better overall kind of result or a better strategy later down the line. But this is what I have kind of figured out for myself, and it seems to be working. I've won 8 straight recently, and it's not the cleanest of victories or wins, but it does work. And you'd be surprised who the character that I actually invested in. I took the risk and it paid off, and it is FC Scarlet, believe it or not. Don't believe me? I'll show you guys the video. I did record my 5 wins. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show all 5 wins. I don't want this video to be too long, but here's the video, guys. Okay guys, so while the video is going, I'll tell you my thought process of what was going on in my mind when I thought of using FC Scarlet. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been losing quite a bit. I actually went with an FC Iris front with Bathory, Rara, FC Annie, and Baraka, which is the red version, you know, the other FC version of Baraka. And the idea for that party composition was using last hit, and basically Bathory is kinda mute at this point. She's only in the team because of Tranquil, you really want to survive as much as possible, at least for one turn. So you really still need to bring Bathory along. So my idea was to actually kill off FC Annie in the opponent's side of the field. And basically I would target FC Annie as much as I can and hopefully trigger final hit and kill her off. Now the main reason why I want to do that is I actually want to make sure the opponent's FC Rara doesn't get too much mana and therefore hitting you with a huge burst. And as much as possible, I would have liked my own FC Annie to survive as well. So I was making sure not to hit anything that would hit back when I'm using FC Annie. So those were my thought process, those were my teams, and that's my first initial response to Shufraken. And you know, in the next turn, if my FC Rara actually has enough mana, I can bring down most of the enemy's team, and hopefully my first initial like burst, well, it's not really a burst at that point, right? Because you only have 3 mana. My skill 2 for my SC Rara, I open with the S2 with my FC Rara just to bring everything down as much as possible, and I can AoE if need be, and I make sure my own Bathory doesn't use an AoE and just hits off their FC Iris. Essentially that is how I played it, and like I said earlier, I was only about 60 to 66%. I think that was the best I could do with that team. There were just so many factors that involve around like for example, like I mentioned, making sure my own FC Annie survives, making sure the opponent's FC Annie dies, and making sure that I don't get hit by crits a lot because their Shufraken is gonna use up the Fear of Abyss and basically kill off everything I have in the back row. Yeah, there were times that it worked, there were times that didn't. Obviously it all depends on the armor cores and stuff like that, having better gear. Probably in the lower levels, probably that team would have worked very well. It kind of worked for me built in the lower challenger round, in challenger 1. It kind of worked, but once you get to master, it's just not happening. So I was losing quite a lot, so what I did was I actually fought a lot of people who have Shufraken. It was just like a friendly game, and I was figuring out, how am I gonna deal with Fear of Abyss? I can't use any barriers to protect myself, so Chatty's out of the question because FC Iris will just pretty much remove that if at all. Not on the first turn, maybe on the second turn I will have less DPS because I use Chatty, and she only protects the back row. So I was racking my brain. I was like, do I bring more DPS? I brought Rudley along, I brought Rachel along for the extra mana, and for some reason it just didn't really click. So I thought to myself, well, you know what, maybe I can try FC Scarlet. So I took some of my faded gear off my other heroes and attached it to her, and I'm like, maybe the modification thing might work against the enemy. She's pretty slow, so it gets to the point where she would probably be second to last, if not the last one to actually, you know, be on the turn. And modification, I do believe, lasts for 3 turns. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like, well, if I can kill off the FC Annie, right, and I can get modification off on the FC Rara, basically I don't get hit by that skill too. Now obviously FC Annie usually survives, right, because of Tranquil, but even if she survives, I can still modify everyone else. this means I get at least 1 or 2 free turns, right? And I was like, wait a minute, this actually might work. So I went ahead and just went with a normal FC Scarlet, and I haven't, blessed her all the way to past level 75. So I was like, it failed a few times, obviously, but I can see that it might work. Basically, my answer to FC Iris and this Shufraken combo was basically to nuke the hell out of them. We're back to basic, boys. Basically back to basics. When we first started doing PvP, it was just all AoE, AoE, AoE. And of course, try not to AoE with your own battery, just single target. Although you can probably argue you can do that, like you can AoE, but the thing is, you don't want to take that risk. The thing is, sometimes your own battery might be able to survive later down the track. And so the idea is, if you actually use her AoE and trigger Summer's Blessing on the opponent's side, that means she's actually free to use her skill 2 next turn if she does get a next turn. So there's a few factors still in there. I haven't really played around with trying to use AoE all the time, because for some reason it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. There's just too many factors to call it when it's actually safe to do so. The AI just randomly targets other characters, so there's really no way to know. So basically, that's my answer, guys. FC Scarlet, a lot of us underrated her, but she basically made my pity, because I actually pitied FC Scarlet. If you guys haven't watched my previous video, I didn't record when I pitied her, but on my first impression I said, oh, she's not that great. I actually said you can skip her, but I ended up pulling for her because anyway. And now it feels like it was worth actually pitying for her. And I gotta say, this wasn't the answer I was looking for. And like I said, it's not the cleanest of wins. There's still you're just teetering at the edge whether you're gonna win or not, but there's a huge chance that you're actually going to win. So the team that I went with, as you guys can see, is FC Iris, FC Rara, Bathory, FC Annie, and FC Scarlet. Basically, the idea is for your Rara to just do as much damage as she can with her skill 2. If your FC Annie is alive, it's going to be much easier because she will have more mana. FC Iris is going to battery, and hopefully your FC Scarlet will be able to use her skill 2. But if she doesn't use her skill 2, you don't have enough mana, you're stuck with her skill 1, it's all good. You can still modify the entire team because it's an all attack. So yeah, that's it. I guess the funny thing is, yesterday I was actually in the middle of doing an FC Scarlet review video, and I'm still working on that. I'm nearly finished, and turns out she was the answer all along. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something new, and hopefully you can fight off this new meta, at least at the start. Hopefully there's better strategies later down the line. But yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, guys. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys give me, and helps with the YouTube algorithm as well. I know I'm not a big Exos Heroes YouTuber. I barely get 100 views, but I really would appreciate it if you can share this off with other players. Hopefully, we can shift the meta once again And yeah, hopefully it all works out. Again, if there's a better strategy, let me know down in the comments below, but this is the answer that I found with what I've caught. Follow me on Twitter and on Facebook as well at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next level.